Previously on the Project Umbrella podcast.
I think the biggest question is, though, Welsh, do you have the betas?
No, I don't. I hope so. I think last year someone had 1.5 for sale on eBay for 100,000.
Zombies don't grab it for a start, they just sort of spit bile at it.
Secret magic game?
Secret magic game?
It just says that he assaulted a woman.
Yeah, the train's name?
Yeah.
Thomas.
Tom, yeah. I was going to say Thomas too, or Gordon.
I remember I was going to work yesterday and I was just reading the site on the bus and you just posted that and I thought, oh shit, by the time I get around to checking this again, it's going to be an absolute shitstorm.
Project Umbrella.
Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Project Umbrella podcast, where our staff members regularly hit the bottle after witnessing a massacre of their team, and any previews of our products aren't bundled with some completely irrelevant game. I'm Nick, better known as Neptune, and joining me today is Newsbot.
Hello.
The Batman.
Hello.
George Trevor.
Hello.
And Mr. Spencer.
I hate you all!
Sorry folks, no guest this week, it's just us in the trusted hands of the Project Umbrella staff members. Coming up on today's podcast, we'll be looking at all the latest news and site news. As many of you know, it's been some time since the last podcast, but it's due to me being hitched abroad, so apologies for anyone who was eagerly awaiting this podcast. We can crack on now. So we'll look at the news, both for Resident Evil 6 and Biohazard Damnation, which will be coming out soon. Looking at some site news, got some exciting projects coming up we want to share with everyone. The main discussion today is on Biohazard 6, and in particular the E3 trailer and the other demos that have come out subsequently. We've got some details regarding the hack demo as well. And then we're going to finish off in terms of discussion with Damnation, looking at our impressions of the recently released trailer from Comic-Con. And then, of course, we finish with Neptune and News' Biohazard quiz. Excellent. So let's crack on with the news. Okay, so first bit of news what I've got on my notes is that Resident Evil 6 will have a staggering 4 hours and 15 minutes of cutscenes, so really going into the Metal Gear Solid territory. But this will include all the death animations, which, if anyone remembers from Resident Evil 4, are all quite gory. So what's everyone's views on that?
Can only be a good thing. More story.
Can it though? Can it only be a good thing? My concern is that they're just trying to do too much. They're just trying to squeeze, their sort of idea is content over quality.
Well, I mean, I've not played Metal Gear 4, but I know that got a lot of criticism as well for the length of the cutscenes. They did seem to go on forever and ever, but was that also criticised because of the convoluted storyline?
Criticised for being shit.
I'm sure IGN gave it a perfect 10, didn't they?
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4 had nearly 10 hours of cutscenes though.
Jesus, really?
And they weren't really interesting or good to look at. So.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. If it progresses the story, then that's one thing. I mean, it really depends, doesn't it, whether it's just going to be filler or whether, like I say, it's going to really progress the story.
Well, the death scenes will probably take up like a good 45 minutes, I would say. And then you've got 3 different scenarios, so, 3 hours, 10 minutes. Sounds about right to me.
Yes, I suppose if it's staged in the same way as Resident Evil 4 and 5, you'd get your beginning introduction to the chapter. Is it chapters? I'm not sure.
But it is interesting because I'm sure Resident Evil 5 just had little over an hour of cutscenes in the whole game, so it is a big jump, really.
Okay, well, we'll discuss it a bit more in more detail about overall impressions. In other news, Resident Evil Damnation has been given an official release date of the 25th of October on DVD in Brazil. Always useful for our Brazilian listeners out there. I think since preparing, a release date has now been given to Europe as well.
When you say release date, Nick, you're talking about the DVD release rather than any theatrical...
Yes, DVD Blu-ray, wasn't it? September
25th.
25th.
So is there going to be no theatrical performance at all, or just in Japan, do we know?
It's just in Japan, I think. It was the same with Degeneration as well.
Yes, it had that limited release, didn't it? Selfish Gene cleared that up, and he confirmed he went to see Degeneration. One of the very few that probably did see it on the big screen. But that's quite cool. I mean, I think more importantly for the European release, it's actually now being released before Biohazard 6, because it didn't make a lot of sense that it was going to be released after Biohazard 6 when it's a prequel.
Is there any concrete information? Because there's nothing specifically in the trailer that can actually date it between RE5 and 6.
Oh, it's between 5 and 6, but we just don't know what year.
Yeah.
Mm. Great, moving on. Interesting bit of news. The Nintendo 3DS and 3DS XL will be launching in Hong Kong and Taiwan on September the 28th. And Biohazard Revelations is going to be one of their launch titles, which will also be localized into Chinese. So there we go, nice little tidbit. Probably skipped by most people. Final bit of news. Resident Evil The Chronicles HD has been released and is the PlayStation Network's most downloaded game across Europe this week. I'll be interested to know if Mr. Spencer would have got it, because he said he was.
And I mean, still no explanation, rhyme or reason as to why this isn't going to make it to Xbox Live.
Ah, yes. Well, I suppose, I mean, it obviously makes sense to be on the PlayStation Move, especially because, obviously with the Move, it's the same, effectively the same as a Nintendo Wii, isn't it? But with Xbox, I'm not sure. Does there like a light gun attachment that you can use on the Kinect or anything like that? I know obviously you don't need it, but it'd be quite.
That I know of.
No, it'd be quite weird playing it on. I know obviously it could be on arcade anyway, using the controller, but on Kinect, I'm not quite sure. Without you'd have to. No, it wouldn't work, would it? You have to line up up your hand or something to go bang bang. On that, then we'll move on to site news. Firstly, Newsbot has been translating the library files from Biohazard 5. Care to elaborate, Paul?
Not much to elaborate on. They're pretty okay. I know that Wesker's is pretty butchered in the English version.
Right.
Clarifies something about the rival company, doesn't it?
Yeah, and his own organization as well.
His organization is still colloquially known as the Third Organization.
Yep, I think... I still don't know, but I think either he took over the rival company or he established his own organization. I just don't know yet. Not enough information on it.
It's a shame we can't ask someone in Japan rather than going through this. I mean, our first spanner in the works, where does HCF come into it then? They're part of...
The rival company, yeah. They're like a special forces of the rival company. Like the Umbrella Security Service is the special forces of Umbrella.
The rival company, this is not the Third Organization.
There's one guy that calls the rival company the Third Organization, but I don't know whether it's true or not.
And then, of course,
it's going to take a while to find out.
It's going to be the longest mystery of the Resident Evil series, and all it will. I don't know how you could get. How could it be resolved then?
Well, hopefully 6 will tell us Ada's employment history.
So where does Tricell or S fall into it then? Because that's Wesker. Where Wesker then worked with after RE4.
After Umbrella collapses, he gives the T-Virus and T-Veronica and a bunch of technology and information on Umbrella to Excella.
Mm-hmm.
Basically uses it to buy himself a position in Tricell for some reason. It's not explained the reason why, but
the assets
then
maybe?
That's probably. Then he goes back to his own organization. That's what happens with 4. Then he uses his organization's assets to find Spencer. So he basically doesn't have an organization anymore, so he moves on to Tricell.
Ah, so his purpose with his company, Wesker's company, whatever you want to call it, rival organization, was purely to find Spencer.
I don't think it was purely to find Spencer. He wanted to establish his own
Umbrella.
Yeah, not literal revival of Umbrella, but his own sort of power company thing.
But his goals changed when Spencer told him about Wesker projects.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh dear. And then now we've got Neo Umbrella, but we won't worry too much about that at this stage.
Not yet, anyway.
That's a good idea, Capcom. Let's introduce more organisations. Unless Neo Umbrella is Wesker's old company or something, and it gets a name, well, that'll make it a bit more clear. In other site news, George, it's over to you. You're translating the Mahara Desire.
Yes, unfortunately not the Japanese version. As we know, various versions were sent out throughout Europe, apart from England. And I've got in my hands the French version. I don't know if they were all the same throughout Europe. I imagine they are, but the quality is appalling. The pages are very thin and look like really poor photocopies of the original Japanese version. I'm sure that's not just the French. It may be the same. I know a few people out there have got the German one. But I'm going to, it'll be quite straightforward from the French, just translate it all into English. I'll get that will be done by the end of the week. The only thing we'll have to sort of just make sure or sort of clarify on is the fact that in these European editions, there's a couple of pages missing from the original Japanese, and some sections that are placed in a different order.
What the fuck?
I mean, I don't have to go into too much detail, but in the original Japanese, there's towards the beginning, you have a scene where the students come running into Mother Gracia, warning her that there's been a zombie attack. That's in the original Japanese, whereas in the European ones, that whole 3 pages is missing. And the first sight you get of a zombie is already incarcerated, so you miss the whole section where the students are sort of running panic through the school and telling the main teacher about the zombie attack. And also the person who I think we mentioned might be from Revelations, the person at the very beginning, the hooded.
Oh, yeah.
That's in a completely different place as well. Whereas in the Japanese, that's at the very beginning. It kind of sort of appears halfway through the European one. So it's very strange with the order. But there's a lot more. This first issue, which is entitled Tome 1, is, it's much, much longer. It's the whole story rather than the smaller thing that we've got in the Cat Bomb version. But yeah, just again, Europe gets shit on. The quality, particularly of the pictures, is really, really off.
Where did you pick it up from?
I got it from, thanks to William Birkin, who pointed me in the direction. I just got it off Amazon France.
Oh, right, okay. Do you know if it has been sold in France as well? Just normally?
I think so.
In bookshops and stuff.
It's been sold normally in Spain. Because I had someone that was going to try and perhaps get me the Spanish one, so it certainly was sold, normal outlets over there.
I might go and pick it up. I'm off to France in September, so I might go and pick it up. But you say for quality, is that crap?
It's odd because you get a few extra colour pages that the Japanese don't get, but then the black and white pages, which is the majority of the book, the actual paper feels very thin. But also, it's hard to explain, but the actual images, the colouring, is sort of like a build-up of lots of little square dots. If you can imagine it, it kind of just looks like it's been over sort of... I don't know, but have a look, and you'll see from the scans. It's very pixelated, if you go close up.
How much was it?
It was very cheap. It was about €8. I think it was about €8 or €9.
Oh, that's okay.
And the shipping was cheap, so yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Something to look forward to, I suppose. To see the discrepancies. Obviously, from what you've said already, there appears to be major discrepancies, which is saying a lot considering Capcom's history.
Sorry if I waffled on a bit, but as I won't be saying a lot about Resident Evil 6, I thought, I better put my contribution.
It's something to look forward to because I think a lot of fans obviously know about these kind of comics, and at the moment we're thinking they're canon, at least the Japanese version is, until said otherwise. So it's quite good that we've got as much information, even if it may be butchered by the French version. The more information in the domain, the better, I think. You can at least try and put some story and some facts together that may unearth some secrets of Bio 6. You never know. And on that note, we'll move on to Biohazard 6.
Look at me. It's gonna be okay. Look at me. Look at me. It's gonna be okay. Just keep your eyes on me. Help me. I'm gonna get you out of here, Deborah. Deborah, look at me. We're gonna get through this. No, let her go! Get away from me! Not her! Not my sister! Take me! Please! I'll do anything! Please! Please! Please don't hurt her! Deborah!
The President spoke highly of you, Agent Kennedy.
Likewise. He told me you've been friends for 30 years.
I am the National Security Advisor. It's my job to prevent terrorist attacks, not cause them.
You liar!
Then you should have no problem turning yourselves in.
Like things just went from bad to worse.
anything interesting?
A recording from 6 months ago.
You still haven't figured it out. Allow me to clarify. Tomorrow, the U.S. will suffer a violent terrorist attack. After that, China. And then major cities all around the world will suffer the same fate. At the hands of Neo Umbrella's very own Ada Wong.
I lost all my men because of her! And I lost over 70,000 people, including the president, because of Simmons. She's working for Neo Umbrella. You know what that means? Yeah, I do. Take every one of those damn things down. Does he know that Wesker was my father?
Resident Evil 6.
There we go. What a trailer, what a trailer. What did everyone think of the E3 trailer?
That was pretty good.
It was alright, I guess.
I mean, the trailers are all very well presented, aren't they? And they all look very exciting. Yeah. I mean, we're not really, I mean, well, at that time we didn't get a lot of reveal of the Leon gameplay that I was hoping for because, you know, this big deal had been made of the 3 different types, or at least 2 different types of gameplay, which really, I don't know if anyone's played the Dragon's Dogma demo. I would question, you know, how different really Leon's gameplay is to any of the others, to Chris's or Jake's.
Because I remember, George, you were really much excited in previous podcasts about Biohazard 6 and the fact that there is this appeared to be this difference gameplay depending on who you play as. And you're saying from Dragon's Dogma it's not as survival horror or maybe not survival horror, but like Revelations as perhaps it should have been.
No, you see, because with Revelations, you've got the setting that's very much a survival horror atmosphere, but also the gameplay is very much like that. But I found with the Leon gameplay, I mean, yes, the setting, the setting's great actually.
It's that university, isn't it?
Yeah.
That looks superb from the demo.
The setting's brilliant, and it starts off and it kind of promises much, but really, as you get into it, after a while, the Leon gameplay, it really wasn't very much different to just constant running forward, shooting. I mean, it almost played a little bit like one of the sections from Operation Raccoon City.
Oh, that's a big shout.
You really are just, you know, moving forward, shooting. Yeah, not a lot other than that, really.
Okay. Well, we had the E3 trailer, which showed a lot, and then we've had the Comic-Con kind of demos and trailers as well, which reveal even more. So before we touch on that, Batman, what were your impressions of the kind of demo?
The demo, yeah, it was okay. I enjoyed it. It took me a while to get used to all the new controls you can do, like the slide along the floor and the forward rolls and that. But once you persevere and get used to the buttons, it actually works really well. The problem with this particular demo is the stages they've chosen for it aren't really the best environments for you to get used to the controls. Like Chris's demo is, you know, it's a lot of like very cramped, narrow passageways and rooftops. You've not really got the room to move about and try out all your moves. And the problem with Leon's demo is you're forced to walk half the way through it. You know, you're not given the option to run around. You're not given the option to fire your gun for like the first 15 minutes of the demo. It's only really Jake where you fight the Eustanak creature in the warehouse thing, where you've got enough space to sort of run around and dive all over the place and throw grenades at him. And once you get used to it, it is quite good. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it turns out.
John, did anyone find the Leon gameplay took a little, I mean, going back to how many cutscenes are throughout the game, I almost found that Leon's game was just waiting for it to get started. It seemed to be just one cutscene after another at the beginning, and just, you know, waiting for it to play. It seemed to take a while, you know, forever to get, you know, hold of the controller and move the, you know, actually get to control it yourself.
Yeah, it was a strange choice for the demo because, like I say, the first 10 minutes you're just walking through empty rooms, and then right at the end you have, you fight a few zombies in the car park. It's not really the best example to give you a flavour of the game.
And look, completely opposite to the start of Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
You're literally thrown into it.
But in terms of survival horror, I mean, the environment of the university seems fine. I don't know if it's just an aspect of the demo, but I don't like how you can't sort of, wander up to tables and bookshelves and examine them like you could in the old days. I don't know if they'll change that for the final thing, because it was similar with the Revelations demo. There was no files or anything in it, so hopefully that'll be fixed. But yeah, it seems all right so far.
What did you think, Paul?
My main complaint was the camera, but they've already fixed that, so...
Oh, yes, I remember. It was too... You couldn't see a lot when it zoomed in for the action. Was that right?
Yeah, the character was too centered to the screen, so they just moved it more to the left or right, depending on what perspective you choose. And I think you can choose the Resident Evil 4 or 5 type camera as well.
Oh, excellent.
So they pretty much addressed my main complaint with it. But I agree with John that the stages for the demo were pretty poor. It's just like an on-rails section. You're just walking in a straight line. I can imagine it being very, very boring on repeat playthroughs.
See, I don't know why we can't... They talk about progressing the series forward, and I just don't think they're doing that in the right way, because there are various different things they could do to progress the series forward. For example, giving us the option of choosing a first-person or third-person camera. You get that in, games like Skyrim, which are good, almost 18 months old now. I don't know why Capcom can't offer that. I think it would be a good addition to the game.
I think it's mostly because of the new movement options, like rolling around and stuff. You can't really do it very well in first person as opposed to third person. Revelations had first person though.
Now, talking of that rolling around, I mean, you get that a lot in the gameplay. And I was mentioning, I think, to Nick the other day, that after the initial, oh yeah, this is a new sort of move, and that you get this initial excitement from that, but practically it doesn't really offer anything to the game. I couldn't really see any situation where rolling on the floor and then pointing your gun back up actually offered you an advantage in the combat. To me, it just seemed very much a gimmick that you don't really need to use in the game at all. And a lot was made of that different, that extra type of movement.
It'll probably end up being more useful in the final game.
I hope it is. I mean, there was a bit, I played Jake's demo, and there was a bit where I was being chased by the Ustinak, and there's a little hole in the wall, so I thought I can run towards that and slide under it. Oh, that's what I thought I could do. But when I tried it, it just made the character stop, and then it gave me a prompt to get down on my hands and knees and crawl through it.
No, it works for me. I tried that. It worked. Yep.
No.
You have to pace your distance away from it, then do it. If you're too close, it'll come up with the prompt.
That's a great enemy. That design is brilliant.
Well, if that sort of thing works, then that feature will be really good, I think.
Yeah, it's natural advancement over what you saw in Nemesis as well. He's chasing you, you run to a door. But if you can run to, say, like a hole in the wall or something, that'd be quite good. And a bit like they had that in Silent Hill, hiding in cupboards and things like that away. And that should be good. That should be certainly a good feature.
Son of a bitch.
What about, I mean, we've got other things to discuss, but what about the Comic-Con trailers and gameplay videos? Obviously, they showed a bit more of what we're used to, what we see, sorry, at the E3 demo. So, what did everyone think of them? Because obviously we got a bit more of Jake's kind of like melee combat in particular.
Well, they've obviously taken on board feedback from the first demo because there was no screen tearing in this one, and like Paul says, they've improved the camera so you can actually see where you're aiming more. but it looked good. I liked Chris's sections, which presumably will be the flashback level that leads up to the demise of his team, where he's fighting that big sort of El Gigante creature. That was pretty cool.
Cool. Right. Just issue a spoiler warning. We're going to now talk about the hack demo. So if you don't want to know any spoilers about the game, then turn away and come back in, I don't know, 10 minutes. Right.
That wasn't very specific.
Well, I don't know how long we're going to speak about it.
Just take a chance.
As any readers of Tier or P will know, that the demo was very quickly hacked to reveal further information on the game in total, which is somewhat, not lazy, but reckless, so to speak, from Capcom, knowing that things like this are bound to be hacked by fans. So we had further information from the Ada Wong reveal about Carla Radame, and confirmation that Carla Radame is in it, although we still don't quite know in what capacity. As is it a clone? Is it someone who's been born from the chrysalis egg, C virus, whatever?
Am I missing something here? Because it's always been known from the start that Ada Wong, it even says in that epilogue, doesn't it? I think Resident Evil 3, it was only ever a code name anyway, wasn't it? It wasn't actually her real name.
That's true, but obviously she's used it for a long time, and even in Damnation she says, I'm Ada Wong. But I don't know, what's everyone's views on that, and on Carla, how it will play into the storyline? Or obviously we know it's someone who looked very similar to her, but
I'm pretty sure she's been remodeled through the C virus.
Remodeled?
I forget which trailer it is, but the one before E3, it's pretty obviously an Ada figure coming out of the chrysalid.
Oh, what, on the videotape?
Yep.
Yeah. I don't mind things like that. I'm only concerned if there's a valid explanation. I always found with the Plagas, I know it took a lot of uncovering by yourself about the different mutations of it, but I hope there's a valid reason as to why they can make almost perfect human clones from the C virus, and yet at the same time it also creates disgusting zombies and presumably that Yusa-Tank thing as well.
Well, that's what really concerns me, is the level, if at all, of explanation we're going to get. What, if at all, explanation are we going to have about the existence of Wesker Jr.?
That too, exactly, yeah.
I mean, well, you have these films, I don't know if anyone's aware of them, made by Paul Anderson, which just throw in, lickers, executioners, without any explanation at all. And I would just be very concerned if, this is the way the game's now going. Let's just throw a licker here for effect, without actually, any sort of intelligent theory behind how it was actually created.
Well, not to defend the films, they got it wrong, but they do say how the liquor was created in the Paul Anderson films.
So don't you dare try and just...
I was just saying, it does say. Nothing else is but that.
Does anyone else here have any, hope that there'll be even the slightest explanation as to how Jake came about?
I'm sure there will be. 5 and Revelations had pretty detailed plot-related information for the files. 4 is the only game in the series, I think, that doesn't explain shit.
They do seem to be making a much bigger effort with the story in recent games.
Yes, that's a good return to form, I think. Hopefully Capcom did take on board the Resident Evil 4 storyline was not well received at the time.
The E3 trailer, it does show that Carla Radame is connected to Simmons before she looked like Ada, and there is a picture in a file that the real Ada is reading that seems to show her being birthed out of one of these chrysalis eggs.
Yeah, it's like a picture from the scene I mentioned in the last trailer.
Yeah.
So we're thinking perhaps they grabbed Carla, who looked like someone completely else, and then they literally... She almost had plastic surgery through the use of the C virus to make her look like Ada.
Yeah, it seems...
As opposed to someone who was, I don't know, like a clone, like Jango Fett or something, was born quickly in an egg. We don't think that's the case.
The impression I get is that Simmons is framing Ada Wong for all these terrorist attacks.
Now that would make sense. That's an idea.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
We saw that very quick reveal about Ada in Damnation, so I don't know how that's going to affect this, the fact that she's working with, or at least for, the BSAA.
I don't think Neo Umbrella is a real organisation either. I think it's just a smokescreen to take responsibility for the attacks on Tall Oaks and Langshan.
But Ada is an undercover spy. She's not well known. How has she suddenly become... That's the question.
The government knows about her. Leon hears a rumour about her before 4. He hears that she's joined Wesker's organization, so that's why he doesn't seem to show much reaction whenever he sees her in 4. He already knows she's alive, and he's heard about her working for Wesker.
I can't remember. Did he? Is the canon ending of 4 her throwing over the rocket launcher to Leon?
Yep.
Yeah. So he had an idea, didn't he? I can't remember. Does he say Ada?
He does, yeah.
He does, yeah.
Ada, is that you? And
Yeah. So he had an idea, but yeah, no, you're right. You're right with his lack of emotion, if you like, to Ada back in 4. But it's good that, as I said, we discussed in the when the E3 trailer came out actually about the rivalry between Chris and Leon over Ada is going to be an interesting dynamic, and the more we see of Biohazard 6, the more I'm excited about how that's going to play out and how Ada is going to be embroiled in the center of the entire game. And if we're thinking that Simmons is also going to be trying to frame Ada, then it looks like she's almost getting her own game, as the key person in everything.
And that's something I've really got to thank Capcom for, because I just think it's fantastic to bring them both eventually, finally into the game. These 2 characters that we've just had as central points in each various game. You almost have that tantalising connection in Code 4 Correct with the email sent to Leon, but that's the only reference. So yeah, I've got a lot of concerns for this game, particularly about explanations and canon points, but that alone, I think, it's a brilliant idea by Capcom to progress the game forward. In these 2 characters finally becoming, in the one game.
Mm. Was there anything else in I can't remember in that list, in the hack demo that we found out that we didn't know before?
all the stages, basically.
Oh, I haven't read that. Oh, don't tell me. No, we should.
It's just pictures, really. Just snapshots of each stage.
Oh, okay.
I think it's 5 per character, so about 20 stages, really.
Okay.
All split up into chapters and whatnot.
Yeah, so they are doing the same kind of formulaic process that we did for 4 and 5.
Yep.
Which obviously appeals to the casual fan who wants just to, or I'll just do one chapter, that kind of thing. It's always. It's a shame, really. Actually, I know a Capcom person came out and spoke about the ink ribbon idea of Resident Evil 1. He didn't like it. I think that came out recently.
I didn't see that.
I'm sure there was an interview with one of the original developers, directors of Biohazard 1. They really hated the idea of having the ink ribbon save.
Oh yeah, Okamoto. He didn't like RE1 when it was in development. He's the reason the item boxes are connected.
Oh yeah, he had big reservations about the control scheme, didn't he? He thought people would absolutely hate the tank controls.
He was right to an extent.
Oh, I don't know. I think it all added to the game myself. The stupid control, the stupid controls and the ink ribbons. It was good at rationing your saves. It made it exciting because you never know when you were going to save, but at the same time you never knew when you're going to face a boss.
I think he also made them increase the amount of ink ribbons you pick up to 3 instead of 1, because he thought the game would just turn into hunting for ink ribbons to save.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it was just a distraction there, a side point, but I thought it does relate to what we're discussing slightly.
Do we know how the weaponry is going to work? Just the mechanic in terms of getting greater weapons. Is it just going to be the same, effectively, buying and selling things as with RE5?
No, you go around and find weapons now. You can't upgrade them either. I think the skill point thing functions as the upgrade thing.
Okay.
Oh, well, that's so your target improve your accuracy.
So enemies aren't going to be dropping sort of any monetary or anything like that.
Just skill points.
Okay, because I thought a fantastic point that was made by someone at PU, I can't remember who it was, the fact that you're hunting down the enemies to get what they're dropping, whereas in the earlier games, in true survival horror form, you're avoiding the enemies, and you're almost scared of confrontations that you're going to have with them. Whereas I think it's an awful development. This idea, you're hunting them down quite easily, and you're swarming through them just to get the bonuses with relative ease. So it's unfortunate.
That's a really good point, actually, isn't it? You see a zombie in the background far away. Go, I'll leave that. No need to worry, especially in remake, obviously. But then I suppose, especially in 4, you're going, oh no, he could drop 5 Magnum rounds or something.
Yeah, you've got no advantage in shooting the enemies. Far from it. The disadvantage of losing ammo, and then the whole mechanic of trying to find limited ammo, that's completely gone.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, I agree with that. I was about to say it's a step back, actually, not having the upgrade system, but I'm afraid you've converted my my opinion in a split second. So well done. Right. Anything else you want to discuss? I mean, obviously we've got Sherry that's kind of coming. We haven't heard a lot about her since the big reveal at E3.
I'm curious as to whether there's going to be any referencing to what happened, because she has G. Let me get you. So she has G antibodies.
Yep.
But then there's no real suggestion from that she's got any particular powers. So I don't know how that's going to work in RE6. Has there been any suggestion that she's capable of special abilities?
There was a magazine preview that said she and Jake had superhuman abilities from their respective viruses, but there hasn't been any indication for her of any powers.
Because she's effectively the same as Jill, isn't she? That they've both been...
Yes. Jill had the T-virus antibodies that dyes people's hair blonde.
So wasn't that the suit that Wesker put her in that made her hair go peroxide?
I think it was just a side effect of being really badly injured and then being put into stasis.
Yeah.
Her hair is like growing brown anyway, again. You can see it in her hair already.
Well, so, I mean, just to confirm that the whole Wesker Jr., Jake, whatever you want to call him, now, he definitely is a superhuman power because obviously they want his blood. He's got something in his blood.
I think he's just important because he has the same blood type as Wesker. And obviously Wesker's blood was important because it could adapt to the progenitor virus, which obviously not a lot of people could do. So he has the potential to be superhuman, but I'm not sure if he is superhuman.
Okay. We haven't gone, sorry, Paul.
He does seem a bit superhuman from his moves, though. He does do the thrust punch kind of thing that knocks any enemy pretty much flying.
Yeah, but there's nothing obvious. Like we don't know that he's had the same experimental virus that Wesker's had. I mean, why would he? You know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think it's confirmed in a. There was some information. I think it was the trailer before E3. Around that point, they released some information in Japanese on. I think it was 4gamer.net or Famitsu. I don't know, but it said that he was the only one of the mercenary group in Edonia to inject themselves with the C virus and then be the only one unaffected, but he also gained superhuman abilities, just not the same as Wesker.
And that would make sense, providing that we assume that the C virus has it. You know, like all the viruses, seems to have a base progenitor as the base, which would make sense.
Yeah.
But the question is, did Wesker bond perfectly with the progenitor virus or the experimental virus?
He bonded perfectly, but the virus was experimental, so it was unstable.
That's why he needed the PG things.
Yeah.
Just to keep him topped up.
It's difficult, isn't it, to ascertain when he was actually using that base injection, to kind of, get all his levels straight. Because, certainly from Code Veronica X, he appears to be, his blood's in complete harmony with the virus, and he's just effectively super athletic, with all the benefits that this virus has given him. But there's no suggestion at that time that, that it's really only something that's coming from Resident Evil 5, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was just a reason to make him able to be defeated in 5. Yeah. I think it was just shoehorned in. Yeah. And it's worthy to note that he wasn't infected with progenitor in Code Veronica either. It was a variant of G at the time.
Oh, really?
Wait, his state in Code Veronica, that's a direct result of the injection he does at the end of Remake?
Yep.
Are you saying, Paul, he's injected something else?
No. I think. Are you saying that when Code Veronica was being made, the developer's intention was that he was going to have some G virus variant in him?
Yeah.
And then it got changed to the experimental virus.
Yeah, it only got changed to progenitor in 5.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. That's why he's just completely different.
I suppose if they ever did another director's cut.
Because it's just T in Remake, isn't it? That he injects.
I don't think it shows you an injection in Remake. It's in Umbrella Chronicles. It shows you him injecting a virus into himself.
Because there's that file that you find. I think is it found on his body?
Yeah, the observation note. I think it's just a reason for them to tie Wesker's report 2 into it because it mentions Nemesis and G and progenitor as well.
That's the note where some unknown person's procured a sample for him, and when it gives you that fraction, is it of how many the success rate? Is it 1 in a?
No, that's a memo in Umbrella Chronicles.
Okay.
Birkin does mention in that memo that it's a variant strain, but he doesn't mention what virus it's of.
Okay.
But it's assumed to be G because when Wesker became superhuman, the series had a thing going on about superhumans being infected by G. Spencer was meant to be infected by it, as was Dante and Virgil.
I mean, I don't know if you'd agree. It would make more sense in terms of having superpower abilities that the injection was G rather than T.
Yeah, and Mr. Kawamura, he confirmed that G was about superhumans as well.
Mm-hmm.
That was Birkin's plan to cause evolution, which ended up being reused again.
So any suggestions that superhuman is a theme that's new to the series is completely ridiculous, isn't it, Paul?
Yep.
I mean, you'd be a complete idiot to suggest that.
Would I be right in saying then that the only people that have ever perfectly bonded with the progenitor virus are the alpha males of the tribe?
Yeah.
The Endopia tribe.
That's the one. Yeah. Thanks, Batman.
The Stairway to the Sun plant was really poisonous, wasn't it, because of the virus? And most of the people who ate it died, and whoever survived it was a candidate to become their next king, I think.
Yeah.
Occasionally, some of them gained superhuman powers, and that was witnessed by that explorer bloke, Henry Travis, who wrote it in his book, which is what influenced Spencer to set about the whole thing.
And that's when obviously they changed their mind on what Wesker was infected with. I said if they ever did another director's cut of CVX, they'd probably put Wesker injecting himself with that virus, with PG-74W, just to be like a Star Wars Episode 4 or 5 redone, wouldn't it? Just to tie in with everything else. But it doesn't not work. And as you said, it's never expressly said that he's infected with G, and it was quickly changed to progenitor, and it was then retconned to progenitor. Yeah, is that right?
I think they were able to do it simply because they never mentioned he was infected with G before. They had built it up for a reveal, but then it didn't get revealed, so they ended up just changing it to progenitor to fit in with the whole progenitor theme of 5.
And which again ties in with Biohazard 6 if he's infected with the C virus, which it has to be based on progenitor if he's to get superhuman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But all this again just makes you wonder why they didn't use Alex Wesker instead of creating Jake Muller.
I know. it's just.
I can only assume they've done it to cater for new audiences. There's no other explanation.
I think they already mentioned that they chose Jake because he was younger and just appealed more to younger players.
I mean, it can almost consign Lost in Nightmares to just some kind of side bonus game because it just would have cemented that game, given it authority. It was crying out. It was right there for them to use.
They might still use it, but I don't expect them to make Alex a big thing. They might mention him in Files again, maybe.
Yeah. What about Simmons being Alex Wesker? Is that a pipe dream?
Still possible, but not until they...
He's the right age, isn't he?
I think it mentions in the trailer, though, that he'd been friends with President Benford for 30 years, so I don't think he would have... I don't think he could have worked for Umbrella's information department, or I don't know. It's possible, but I doubt it. But me and Paul were talking about Simmons. We were hoping he was going to be like a Sergei Vladimir type character, where they sort of insert him to loads of past events.
Oh, right.
We said it'd be really cool if he was one of the government officials who negotiated with Birkin about extracting him and the G virus from Raccoon City.
Yeah, it would have been pretty good.
Pipe dream, meeting up with Frederick Downing or something. You never know.
And if the organisation does have some sort of connections with the government, it would be cool if Simmons was the guy who tells Ada to betray Wesker in Resident Evil 4 and stuff like that. Would be really good.
That would be awesome. That would be great if they could do that. But again, we're all hoping for more information on Ada's company. I mean, I can almost see it now. This Neo Umbrella or something. After the events of Resident Evil 4, Ada formed a new company called Neo Umbrella, and that would be it.
What about what she mentions in the trailer for Damnation?
Oh yes, working for the BSAA.
I'm pretty sure it's just a lie.
Yeah, I could thought that too, and that's quite cool. It's interesting that it should use her name. It does seem slightly perverse that if, as you said, the government knows who she is, the BSAA will bound to know who she is.
It looks like she's in the whatever country is in Damnation. She's in that country's government trying to do shit.
She's a cool character though, Ada. She's a good character, and I'm pleased she is getting a focal point. But I hope they don't turn her into a villain or anything too villainy, because she's not a villain, as we've discussed on the forums.
Yeah.
She's not a baddie. She's a bit like Catwoman, I suppose, isn't she? Kind of like an enemy with a good heart, but not.
No news yet that Jill's going to be in it. I know Mr. Spencer was really hoping. I think John has a love-hate relationship with Jill.
I think he'd be annoyed if she actually left the series.
He would be.
Because then he would have no one to rant at.
Oh, in her file in 5, it's stated that she was chosen as a test subject for that P30 thing just to see if it would cause long-term damage to the subject's body.
Oh, right.
And in archives it says she was left physically and mentally exhausted. So if she doesn't appear, you can pretty much see why.
But it was rumoured she is in Biohazard 6. There's maybe is like a cameo role, the Laura Dern role from Jurassic Park 3.
I thought they confirmed she wasn't going to be in it.
Yeah, Claire gets mentioned, but
Claire, sorry.
Claire and Jill aren't going to be appearing in the game.
And we don't think Yusha Tank is Steve Burnside. It's the head, Paul. The head. It's the same kind of centre parting or whatever it is. Again, any word on what we know about Usha? Is it Usha Tank? Usta Tank?
Ustanak.
Ustanak, sorry. Yeah.
It's a pretty cool name, to be honest.
And he looks like he's obviously taking the Nemesis role. But
yeah, we don't know much about him though at all, except that he's under Carla's control and stuff.
Oh.
But there's a very fleeting glimpse in the Damnation trailer that some people have speculated might be him.
Yeah, it's like a metal claw type thing that seems to be in a similar style.
Well, we'll stop there and move, actually, because you've touched upon it, we'll then move on to Biohazard Damnation.
Today marks the first day in which the world's media has been granted access to the city.
We've got confirmation that BOWs are being used in this war. If you don't stop messing around with that thing, you're gonna get us all killed.
I have been sent here by the BSAA. My name is Ada Wong.
Pull back!
A biohazard release has been detected. Evacuate.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Great.
Yeah, so the secondary trailer came out at Comic-Con this week. We've just been talking about it now. A very bright trailer, I happen to think. It was quite weird seeing the Lickers on top of a bus in the middle of the day. It's not a usual place you see a Licker, but there we go.
Yeah, I think it was the director commented on it that he wanted people to see Lickers in broad daylight for some reason.
Oh, okay. Well, we've known that this is obviously about Leon he's ordered by the government to investigate whether or not BOWs are being used in this particular civil war. You can see from the trailer on the newsreel anyway, that the USA and Russia have teamed up to fight the insurgents or whatnot. And Leon's sent in there to investigate. He confirms the presence of BOWs, presumably Lickers, which seem to be taking a prominent role in the film, and then ordered to get the hell out of there, but disobeys that order and stays. That's what I've read.
That's pretty much all we know so far.
And that's all we know factually. So the rest of the podcast, we can talk about what we see in the trailer. And as you already alluded to, the metal claw that appears.
Well, we get to see a little bit more of that mystery figure on the mound. He's not identified. And I know that some rather overexcitable members of the community have been suggesting.
Yes, I'll hold my hands up. I am one of those members.
I think if Capcom can hardly remember what they did with the Wesker children in Lost in Nightmares, they're not going to bring back a character from Survivor as much as we all would want him to be. Ark Thompson, he's not, is he, guys? He's not.
Imagine how good if it was. Imagine.
Was.
Oh, it'd be so amazing. But then on the flip side, isn't he confirmed as a kind of Licker whisperer?
No, it says that a faceless guy is the guy controlling the Licker, but he's not faceless. You can fucking see his face.
Oh right, so okay, Ark could still be in it, right?
I think it's referring to Simmons. Simmons appears in the trailer in all black. Well, I mean in a shadow. But it's clearly him. He's wearing the same necktie and coat and beard and everything.
Which is great. Which obviously makes it more
of a tie-in, yeah.
That's the one I was looking for. Necktie tie-in. Yeah.
Simmons and Ada, basically. So.
Yeah, I was surprised about Ada. I mean, obviously everyone assumes when Leon turns up, Ada turns up, but I wasn't actually expecting her in this because of her prominent role in Biohazard 6. I didn't think they would do a Ada Leon overload, but they do appear to be going down the route.
Well, I think this film is going to be setting a lot up for Resident Evil 6. I don't think it's obviously any coincidence that they're so close together, and I think particularly with the role of Ada in Damnation, I think particularly the end of this film is going to set up a lot of things for Resident Evil 6.
I hope so. I hope it has more.
Just clarify that, not necessarily with the story, because obviously that's going to be kind of like a start, middle, and end for that particular film, but more in terms of the characters with Ada and Leon.
I hope it has a bit more links than what Degeneration had to 5.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
But is this a direct sequel, really, to Degeneration? Or is it standalone?
I think it's very much standalone, isn't it? I don't think there's going to be any real mention to Degeneration at all.
And what's interesting is the special features they've released for the DVD. There's a feature on there called Las Plagas.
Yes.
Organisms of War.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
But that might explain how, I don't know, I'm hoping it's got something to do with the control plaga that Ada took to her organisation at the end of Resident Evil 4.
Well, now you're clutching at straws.
But have you noticed in the Bio 6 trailer that Ada Carla seems to have the Eustanak thing under her control?
Ah, yes, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if they started splicing plaga genes or some shit into viruses now.
Well, it's long been theorised that would be the natural progression of the kind of virology of the series, putting the T virus in with the Plagas. And I remember when 4 came out, how everyone was of the opinion that the Plagas was also the Nemesis parasite and things like that. Do you remember those conversations?
Sadly.
Sadly, and everyone's like, despite the fact they clearly said that the Nemesis parasite was genetically modified and artificially created. No. Look, they both got tentacles. That was the argument. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, you're right there. So there could be that element. I mean, again, that would be a great tie-in, and that would show someone at Capcom has looked at previous games.
Because they explained in 5 how they'd improved the plaga so they could control the Mangini without using a control plaga. So
yeah, did the agitator Mangini have any influence, or was he wasn't a special Mangini, but he could just shout? Was he controlling them as such, or just staring?
He was just they're still regular people, just more violent.
Just more violent.
And they were very xenophobic.
Mm.
I can't remember exactly how they did it, but they said obviously they were given orders to attack the BSAA, and obviously they didn't touch Irving, Jill, Wesker, or Excella. And it was stated somewhere that they improved the Plagas because it was a big flaw in the selling point as a weapon that whoever could control the Plagas had to inject a control Plaga, which meant they were at risk of severe mutation. So in order to make it a more marketable weapon, they had to get rid of that trait.
Yeah.
But the Plagas has turned into a really good plot point, I think, and I think this is very much down to Resident Evil 5. And
I used to hate 4 almost completely based on the Plagas. It just seemed like a really fantastical enemy.
Yeah.
But I think 5 rectified a lot of that.
Yeah, it made it more relevant to the
I mean, you mentioned
universe.
before, sorry, Paul, you mentioned before that no real explanation behind a lot of the concepts in Resident Evil 4. I always sort of presumed that there was something alien about Las Plagas, but at the time that they're dug up by the villagers, that we get no explanation, do we, as to what, are they of Earth? Are they of alien origin? I think they're just sort of meant to be like spores, aren't they? But we don't really get any sort of details about their actual origin.
Yeah, we're just told that they're old as fuck, and that's it.
Mm. You never know. You might get more in the future, but won't count on it. But yeah, the interesting use of Plagas in the Damnation could be a nice selling point. And I wonder if the C virus is going to make an appearance as well. I mean, from what we've seen, there doesn't appear to be any zombies in it.
Oh, there's a zombie in the trailer. Just one though. I don't know if it'll be C virus or T again. Probably T. I don't know.
Did it look? I can't remember seeing it. Did it look like an outbreak or just a single lone one on his own?
Just one.
Just one.
I think.
So it could be because the C virus was from Edonia. Is that it? Edonia Republic. That's where it was being distributed, and that's where it got the name.
Yeah, apparently. It was for testing it in some mercenary group.
Yeah, they gave it a cool name, didn't they? Yeah. So it's look. I can't wait for Damnation myself. I really, really liked Degeneration, and I'm hoping this will be just as good. And the only thing I would say is the quality of the CGI.
Well, we know it's pretty low budget, and I wasn't really expecting any spectacular Pixar level CGI.
No,
but it's pretty good for what it is.
I think it was just a daylight shot. The Lickers took me by surprise. That was all, because that looked really cartoony.
The Lickers in general looked pretty cartoony. Mm-hmm. They even looked pretty weird in 5. But
are they Licker beaters?
They'll probably just reuse a 5 design for the old Lickers. We don't know yet, really.
It makes sense for them to use the beta model, I suppose. What else? Any other points?
Just says the 7 minutes of behind closed doors footage they showed at Comic-Con was Leon being attacked by a licker in like a parking garage or something, and the licker almost kills him, and then it's called off at the last minute by whoever's controlling it.
Oh, that's quite interesting. So it could be Ark. Is that going to be released, those 7 minutes at all? Or is it press embargoed?
No, I don't think so. That was Japanese version anyway.
Oh, okay. Right.
Is there going to be any European release? Any date confirmed for that?
Yeah, the 25th of September.
So that's worldwide, the same date?
I think 25th is the American one.
Okay, so it might be a bit...
It's listed on Amazon for the 25th in America.
Okay. Well, I can't wait. I mean, that's a day one purchase, Blu-ray. Just complete. It should be good. Look forward to it.
I need to get a Blu-ray player.
So you need to get one?
Yeah, I want to buy that Alien anthology that John told me about.
Get a PlayStation then.
I can't. I hate PlayStation. I hate it. I hate that console.
Why?
Because it's responsible, particularly the PlayStation 1. It's responsible for so many appalling, games that went into 3D far too soon. You've got two-dimensional sprites on 8-bit computers from the 80s that look far more beautiful compared to just so much shit that came out on the PlayStation. Sorry.
I'm intrigued. What game in particular? Croc.
Sorry, the older games I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Oh no, just so many. I mean, if you just look at some of the games on the Amstrad CPC, which obviously are just two-dimensional sprites, but they're absolutely beautiful. I just think a lot of the three-dimensional models on the early PlayStation games were very rough.
Resident Evil?
No, I wouldn't class Resident Evil in that at all. No.
Right.
It took them quite a long time though to get fingers, didn't they? You used to sort of get these bricks for hands.
Yeah, I can say that about Code Veronica. You look back on the Dreamcast footage of Code Veronica, and it looks shocking nowadays. I think many of the pre-rendered ones look better. But there we go. Anyway, on that note, I think we can finish our discussion on Biohazard Damnation, and we'll now move on to Neptune and Newsies Biohazard Quiz.
5 questions, 3 participants, and 1 topic. It's Neptune and Newsies Biohazard Quiz!
What are we going to do about John?
I think the obvious substitution, because I prepared the questions this week, although I have to say they're shite, I thought Paul could step in.
Ah, good call.
That will certainly boost Mr. Spencer's score. So welcome to the quiz. It's now Neptune's Biohazard Quiz, as Newsbot is stepping in to fill the...
I've got most to lose by that improved quality in John's Resident Evil knowledge, as I'm closest to John, with Batman Warehead.
As you know, Mr. Spencer's been notoriously quiet on this podcast, so much so he's not even here. What we'll do, we'll go through the questions, but let's have a recap. Batman, you're currently in lead with a staggering 23.5 points. Mr. Spencer's in second with 16.5 points. And George, you're in third place with 14.5. So only 2 points behind Mr. Spencer. Newsbot, we can put you on the guest score to see how well you do. Seems a bit unfair, but never mind. But a quick recap for everyone else. Ridley's on 4, Welsh's got 3, Smiley got 3, Selfish Gene, Ty and Zombie Fred all scored 1 point. So come on, Ty, let's see if you can do better than your usual 2. Right, these questions are fairly easy. I say it was put together at fairly last minute. So we'll move on, and we'll start with question number 1. And it's Vito's question. Hey, well, thankfully, he saved my ass, really, by providing with a question straight away, so that was quite nice. So, as long as your desktops are clear, we'll crack on. Question number 1. What was the date when Pierce found Chris at the bar?
I don't even know what game that's from. What's that?
What was the date Piers found Chris at the bar in Biohazard 6?
Right, so that's a question about a game that hasn't been released yet?
Correct, yeah.
What?
Someone's not played the demo.
It's in the demo, it's okay, there we go. Come on, George! Right, we move on to question number 2, and I do apologise for these. All the following questions all used, I was looking at the keyword section of the archives, so Paul, feel free to correct me if I need to actually wrong. What was Steve Burnside's blood type?
Oh, God.
Whose blood type?
Steve.
I'll have to guess that.
Yeah. Question number 3. Umbrella's common cure is...
Did you say what's Umbrella's common cure?
Yes. Yeah, Umbrella's common cure is. Question number 4. What colour is the Eagle handgun in Resident Evil 3?
What colour?
There's quite a distinctive colour of the Eagle handgun. Everyone got an answer?
Mm-hmm.
That's confident there, this news. Let's see if he gets this one. Question number 5. What does Tofu say when he dies in The Fourth Survivor?
These are shit questions.
Can you repeat that?
Is that too easy?
No.
Oh, okay, that's fine. What does Tofu say when he dies in The Fourth Survivor?
I'm going to say Tofu isn't even a character, but I know Paul's Newspot's going to tell me that he's canon.
Right, well, that concludes the quiz. Join us after this when we'll run through the answers.
Tofu was thought to originate in China over 2,000 years ago. It was developed as a plant-based source of protein. In fact, about 4 ounces of firm tofu has 9 grams of protein. I think of tofu as kind of an ingredient. It doesn't have much taste on its own, but if you mix it with spices and flavorings and marinades, it tastes fabulous.
Hello and welcome back to Neptune's quiz this week only. So we'll now run through the answers and see what everyone got. So question number 1 was, what was the date that Piers finds Chris at the bar? What did you put? Newsbot.
June 29th, 2013.
Okay. Batman.
Yeah, I put the same.
And GT.
I can't say June 29th because it will just sound like I'm cheating so blatantly. I don't know. I didn't know.
You didn't know. Correct, guys. 2 points, point each there.
There's no way Mr. Spencer would have known that.
Yes, June 29th, 2013. So that's not even happened yet. But there we go. So points there for Mr. Spencer and Batman. Question number 2 was, what was Steve's blood type? George Trevor.
AB.
Batman.
I'm going to guess B.
And Mr. Spencer / Paul.
AB.
AB is correct. It is. Well done. Points there for GT and Newsbot. Do I hear a bit of Resident Evil music in the background?
That was me, sorry.
That did sound like Resident Evil. Was that Resident Evil 1?
No, that was the homepage of my website, sorry.
Whoa, I thought we were supposed to have clear desktops here.
I know we do, but that's always minimised. There's nothing, as you probably well know, there's nothing on my website that's going to help us with these questions.
I smell a rat.
Question 3. Umbrella's common cure is... Mr. Spencer?
Safsprin.
Batman?
Yep, Safsprin.
George Trevor?
Yes, aspirin. Resident Evil, the little terminal in Resident Evil 3.
Congratulations, points all around there. That's quite an easy one, but we get some points for everyone there. Question number 4 was, what colour is the Eagle handgun in Resident Evil 3? George, what did you put?
Well, it's got a purple. The hand bit of it's purple.
Okay. Batman?
I don't know, silver.
Silver. And finally, Mr. Spencer / Paul.
It's a purple with the barrel is kind of grey.
Yeah.
Points for George and Mr. Spencer / Newsbot. Congratulations. It is purple. That's the colour I was looking for. And it was the first thing that you... it was one of the packs from the Nemesis that drops. You get handgun parts A and B.
A and B. How did you not know that, John? Do you know anything about Resident Evil?
No. Sorry.
I like that. I thought the handgun was wicked, and also like the shotgun you get next time after that it's kind of like a mini shotgun. It's almost like a Western one, wasn't it? You kind of held it differently.
Oh yeah.
The Winchester.
Oh, is that what it was? Was it a Winchester?
Yeah.
Have you not seen Shaun of the Dead?
Yeah, but I didn't know. Is that? Yeah, no. Winchester pub. Is that a make-up gun?
Yes.
So does anyone know? Do you have to kill Nemesis as when you're Carlos in order to get the unlimited ammunition at the very end? Because you know there's that little section you play as Carlos when you're going to get the
Oh, you do, yeah. I think. No, wait, I'm trying to remember. No, I think you can skip and Nemesis will attack Jill straight after.
Yeah.
Then you kill him as Jill.
That's a podcast I'm looking forward to.
Should be good, yeah. And finally, question number 5 was, what does Tofu say when he dies in The Fourth Survivor? What did you put, Batman?
He says something in Japanese, doesn't he?
He does.
And I don't understand Japanese.
I don't know. I want the Japanese thingy.
I don't know. He says goodbye, I'm dead, something like that.
I tell you what. Okay, right. What did you put, George?
He says, "Don't eat meat, kids." In Japanese.
And what did you put, Newsbot?
He says farewell in Japanese.
Oh, you might be right. I don't know. It's the actual answer is Honosanara.
Yeah, it means farewell.
Does that mean farewell? Okay, fine. There we go. Well done. There's no points for Mr. Spencer there. I have to say,
he's doing very well this week.
The points then, after episode 7, Batman with only 2 points, George Trevor with 3, and Mr. Spencer for the first time ever on the podcast, a full house, 5 out of 5.
Oh, and the one I would have come first this week.
Absolutely superb.
So basically, Mr. Spencer got more points today than he has done over the last 3 podcasts.
Yeah. Well done, well done. So that means the scores. Batman, you've moved on to 25.5. Mr. Spencer is now on 21.5. And George, you are now on 17.5.
So I kind of would have caught up on John. Well, I'm appointing Ridley to answer my question.
And there we go. And I have to say, Newsbot, you've gone straight to the top of the guest leaderboard with 5, but I'm tempted. Come the end of the year, if you're still top, I might have to give it to Ridley. Because everyone's going to get an award. If you come top of the guest leaderboard, you're going to get an award. You almost fall into the Top Gear category of being an F1 driver, so therefore you can't go on the reasonably priced car. You have to go on the specialist one. Well done, well done. Good game, good game. So there we go. That concludes the quiz, and join us next podcast, and we'll have 5 more questions.
5 better questions.
Yeah, sorry, there you go. Well, I do apologise. They were quickly put together.
You need to find some Sale of the Century music this week.
Oh dear. But no, I said that they were really quick, hastily put together. I thank Vito once again for his input. It's always valuable for the quiz.
Have we had any guest MP3s?
I don't think we have. Have we received any?
No.
No. To be fair, this is only ever going to be a short podcast. This was just to in preparation for the next one, which is, drumroll please, Thank you. Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles. The first time we're going to be looking at the Chronicles series, exclusively at the time for Wii, now obviously on PlayStation 3. So we're going to be looking at that in a lot of detail, seeing how it compares on the new system if anyone's downloaded it. I, for myself, will be playing through Dark Side Chronicles because I haven't played it through since completing it a long, long time ago.
When's the date of that recording? Do we know roughly when that's going to be?
We had hoped to do it by the end of July. What's the date today? It's the 17th.
Week on Sunday.
A week on Sunday, right.
I just need some time. I need to prepare myself because Syndra's going to be on bringing her fine ass.
She is, that's the plan. We are. Syndra has been booked for this one. So staff member Syndra, who's one of our moderators on PU, who keeps everyone in check, she's going to be on board. She'll be the first female on... No, it won't. I lied. I won't be the first female. We've had NFTL, who's been on before. But there we go. So we've got that to look forward to. In terms of sub-discussion... I suppose it depends if anything else comes out in the next week or so. I can't think if anything else we can talk about. We'll see. We'll have a chat.
My desire, Tome 1 would have been translated. By
there we go. Perfect. We can have a brief discussion on that and the site projects ongoing. So with that, we will look to be recording that very soon. In fact, by the time this actually gets released on the website, we'll probably be recording in the next few days due to my slow editing skills. There we go. Not to worry. So, on that bombshell, as they say on Top Gear, I just say goodbye from me, Neptune.
Goodbye from me, Batman.
Goodbye from me, Newsbot.
Goodbye from me, George Trevor.